The sun was setting over Meridian's edge when Jake Morrison heard the explosion. He looked up from the engine he was fixing and saw smoke rising from the desert beyond his workshop. Black clouds twisted into the orange sky. Something had crashed out there. Jake wiped his hands on his coveralls and grabbed his toolkit. Living on the edge of human space meant crashes happened sometimes. Most were cargo ships with engine problems or drunk pilots who missed the landing pad. He climbed into his old rover and drove toward the smoke. The drive took 20 minutes across the red sand. When he got closer, Jake saw it was not a normal ship. The vessel was half buried in the sand, silver metal still glowing hot from atmospheric entry. Strange symbols covered the hull. The design was sleek and curved. Nothing like the boxy human ships Jake usually fixed. He parked his rover and walked carefully toward the wreck. The ship was about 30 feet long, with wings that folded against the body. Scorch marks ran along one side, and a large hole had been blown through the rear section. This was not a simple engine failure. Someone had shot at this ship. A hatch opened with a hiss of air. Jake stepped back and reached for the wrench in his belt. Not much of a weapon, but it was something. A figure emerged from the smoke, coughing and stumbling down the ramp. It was a woman, or at least shaped like one. She was tall and thin with pale blue skin that seemed to shimmer in the fading light. Her hair was long and white, moving like it was underwater even though there was no wind. She wore a dark traveling cloak that was torn and burned in places. "Please," she said in perfect English, though her voice had a musical quality to it. "I need help. My ship is dying." Jake noticed her eyes. They were completely black with small points of light inside, like looking at stars. When she blinked, her eyelids closed sideways instead of up and down. Definitely alien, but she seemed harmless enough. "What happened?" Jake asked, keeping his distance. "Pirates attacked me near the jump gate. I barely escaped, but my engines are failing. I saw your outpost and made emergency landing." She touched the side of her ship, and patterns on her skin glowed faintly blue. "Can you repair it?" Jake walked around the ship, examining the damage. The rear engines were completely destroyed. The hull had multiple puncture wounds. The landing gear was bent. This would take days of work, maybe a week. "This is military-grade damage," Jake said. "Those were not pirate weapons. What are you really running from?" The woman's glow flickered. She looked nervous. "I can pay you. Standard galactic credits. Name your price." Jake thought about it. His repair shop had been slow for months. Most traffic went to the bigger stations now. He needed the work, and honestly, he was curious about the alien technology. He had never seen a ship like this before. 3 days, Jake said. "Maybe 4. I will need to order some parts from the main station." Relief washed over her face. "Thank you. My name is Lyra." "Jake Morrison. Come on, we should get back before dark. The desert gets cold at night." They drove back to his workshop as the last light faded. Lyra sat quietly, staring at the stars appearing overhead. Jake noticed she kept checking a small device on her wrist, like she was waiting for a message that never came. His workshop was a large metal building on the edge of the outpost. Inside were 3 repair bays, rows of tools, and enough spare parts to fix almost anything. Jake had built this place himself after leaving the military 5 years ago. "You can sleep in the back room," Jake said, pointing to a door behind his office. "It is not fancy, but the bed is clean." Lyra nodded. "You are very kind. Most humans would not help a stranger." "Most humans do not live out here," Jake replied. "We learn to help each other. Otherwise, nobody survives." He made some food, basic rations heated on a small stove. Lyra ate slowly, like she was not used to solid food. Jake asked her about her species, and she explained she was Zilthara, from a world called Valith in the Andromeda sector. She said she was a merchant traveling alone, which Jake thought was strange. Most aliens traveled in groups. After dinner, Jake went back outside to check on the ship. He had used his rover to tow it back to the workshop. Now it sat under the lights of his largest repair bay, looking even more impressive up close. He opened the engine compartment and whistled. The technology inside was 50 years ahead of anything humans had. Crystal matrices instead of wires, biological circuits that seemed to be alive, power cores that hummed with barely contained energy. Jake took out his scanner and began running diagnostics. The damage report made him frown. Both main engines were destroyed. The navigation computer was fried. The communication array was completely offline. And strangest of all, the weapons systems had been manually disabled from inside the ship. Why would someone disable their own weapons before a fight? He looked back at the workshop where Lyra was sleeping. She was hiding something. The expensive ship, the military-grade damage, the nervous way she kept checking for messages. This was not a simple merchant running from pirates. But Jake had learned long ago not to ask too many questions. Everyone on the frontier was running from something. That was why they came here. As long as she paid him and did not bring trouble to his door, her secrets were her own. He saved the diagnostic data and closed up the ship. Tomorrow he would start the real work. Tonight, he needed sleep. As Jake walked to his small apartment above the workshop, he did not notice the 3 ships that had just entered orbit around Meridian's edge. He did not see their scanning beams sweeping across the planet's surface, and he did not know that they were searching for someone very specific. Someone named Lyra. Jake woke before dawn and started working on the ship immediately. The engines were his first priority. Without them, the ship was just expensive scrap metal. He spent the morning carefully removing the damaged components, cataloging each piece. Lyra appeared around midday carrying 2 cups of coffee. She had found his small kitchen and figured out how to use the machine. Jake was impressed. Most aliens hated the taste of coffee. "You do not have to help," Jake said as she handed him a cup. "This is what you are paying me for." "I want to help," Lyra replied. "I am not used to sitting still." She worked beside him through the afternoon. At first, Jake gave her simple tasks, holding tools and passing parts, but Lyra learned fast. By evening, she was helping him strip down the secondary power systems without being told what to do. They worked in comfortable silence for a while. Then Lyra spoke. "Why are you here, Jake Morrison? This place is very far from Earth." Jake did not look up from the circuit board he was repairing. "I could ask you the same thing." "I asked first." He smiled. "Fair enough. I used to fix ships in the military, saw a lot of fighting, a lot of good people dying over things that did not matter. When my contract ended, I came here. Wanted peace and quiet." "Did you find it?" "Most days." Jake set down his tools and looked at her. "What about you?" "Why is a merchant traveling alone in a ship this expensive?" Lyra's skin flickered, the blue patterns pulsing slightly. Jake had noticed she did that when she was nervous or thinking hard. "My people usually travel in family groups," she said slowly. "But sometimes circumstances force us to travel alone." "What circumstances?" She did not answer. Instead, she went back to work on the power coupling she was holding. Jake decided not to push. Like he had thought last night, everyone had secrets. They worked until late evening. Jake ordered food from the Outpost's only restaurant, and they ate in his small office. Lyra asked him questions about human culture. She wanted to know about families, about Earth, about why humans built settlements so far from their home world. "We like to explore," Jake explained. "We like to see what is over the next hill, around the next star. It gets us in trouble sometimes, but we cannot help it." "That is a good quality," Lyra said. "My people used to be explorers too. Now we are—" She paused. "Different." Before Jake could ask what she meant, an alarm beeped on his desk. "Security alert. Someone was approaching the workshop." Jake checked his monitors. A vehicle was coming up the road from the main outpost. He recognized it as belonging to Danny Cooper, the outpost administrator. Danny was a friendly guy, but he only visited when there was official business. "Stay in the back," Jake told Lyra, "just in case." She nodded and disappeared into the back room. Jake went outside to meet Danny as he parked his vehicle. "Hey, Jake," Danny called out. "Got a minute?" "Sure. What brings you out here?" Danny looked uncomfortable. "We got a message from some Zilthara ships in orbit. They are looking for someone. A fugitive, they said. Wanted to know if anyone matching the description had landed near the outpost." Jake kept his face neutral. "What does this fugitive look like?" "Female Zilthara, traveling alone, probably in a damaged ship. They said she is dangerous, a criminal. There is a big reward for information." Danny pulled out his tablet and showed Jake an image. It was Lyra. Her hair was styled differently, and she wore formal clothing instead of the travel cloak, but it was definitely her. "Have not seen anyone like that," Jake said easily. "Been working alone all week, you know how it is." Danny nodded. "Figured as much, but I had to check. They are searching every settlement in the sector. Seems pretty important to them." He put his tablet away. "How is business?" "Slow. Could use more work." They talked for a few more minutes about nothing important. Then Danny left. Jake waited until the vehicle disappeared down the road before going back inside. Lyra was standing in the workshop, her face pale. Even her glow seemed dimmer. "They found me," she whispered. "I did not think they would search this far out." "Who found you? And do not tell me pirates." She sat down heavily on a workbench. For a long moment she was silent. Then she started talking. "I am not really a merchant. I was important to my people. But there was a fight for power. My cousin wanted control. He had the military on his side. Most of my friends and family were killed. I barely escaped." "A fight for power?" Jake crossed his arms. "Like a war?" "Like a coup," Lyra corrected. "Quick and brutal. Now my cousin controls everything. He sent those ships to find me. If I go back, I will be killed." Jake thought about Danny's visit. "They called you a criminal. Said you were dangerous." "Of course they did. Winners write the history." Lyra looked up at him. "I understand if you want me to leave. I do not want to bring trouble to you." Jake looked at the ship, then at Lyra, then back at the ship. He thought about the right thing to do. The smart thing would be to turn her in, collect the reward, stay out of alien politics. But Jake had not chosen the smart path in a long time. "How long until the ship is ready?" he asked. Lyra blinked in surprise. "You are still going to help me?" "I started the job. I finished the job. That is how I work." He picked up his tools. "Now answer the question. How long?" "If we work through the night, maybe 2 more days. The engines are the hard part." "Then we better get started." They worked through the night and into the next day. Jake knew it was risky. The Zilthara soldiers would search the outpost eventually. But he could not bring himself to abandon someone who needed help. It went against everything he believed in. As dawn broke on the second day, Lyra touched his shoulder. "Thank you, Jake Morrison. Not many would risk themselves for a stranger." "We are not strangers anymore," Jake said. "Now hand me that power coupling. These engines will not fix themselves." They both knew time was running out. Somewhere above them, warships were getting closer. But for now, they had work to do. And that was enough. Jake was connecting the last power relay when his workshop computer started beeping. Multiple ships had just entered low orbit. His old military training kicked in immediately. He pulled up the sensor data. 3 Zilthara warships, each the size of a city block. They were broadcasting on all frequencies, both alien and human languages. "This is Commander Krathvel of the Royal Fleet. We are searching for a dangerous fugitive named Lyra Seth. She is wanted for crimes against the throne. Any person with information will be greatly rewarded. Any person who hides her will be punished. The message repeated over and over. Jake turned off the broadcast and looked at Lyra. She had gone completely still, her skin patterns frozen mid-pulse. Lyra Zeth, Jake said slowly. That is your full name? She nodded, unable to speak. His computer beeped again. Incoming call from Danny Cooper. Jake answered it. Jake, you seeing this? Danny's face filled the screen, looking worried. 3 warships just showed up. They are sending soldiers down to search the outpost. Asked me to gather everyone in the main square for questioning. How long until they get here? Maybe an hour. They are landing at the spaceport now. Danny leaned closer to the camera. Jake, if you know anything about this fugitive, you need to tell me now. I cannot protect you if you are hiding something. I do not know anything, Danny. Good luck with the search. Jake ended the call before Danny could ask more questions. He turned to Lyra. We need to move fast. How much more work does the ship need? The engines are ready, but the communication array is still broken. I can fly without it, but I cannot use hyperspace navigation. I would have to plot a course manually, which means flying for months to reach safe space. Can you fix it? Not in an hour. Maybe in 6 hours if we had the right parts. Jake made a decision. Then we make time. I need to call someone. He pulled up his contact list and found Amy Rodriguez. Amy had served with him in the military. Now she ran security for the outpost, commanding the small force of peacekeepers who kept order. She answered on the second ring. Jake, kinda busy right now. Got alien warships landing on my doorstep. I need a favor, Amy, a big one. There was a pause. This about that Zilthera they are looking for? Maybe. Damn it, Jake. You are hiding her, are you not? I am fixing her ship, that is all. She has not hurt anyone. She just needs to leave. Amy was quiet for a long moment. Jake could hear shouting in the background, probably soldiers organizing the search. What do you need? She finally asked. 6 hours. I need you to keep those soldiers away from my workshop for 6 hours. Are you crazy? They have warships up there, Jake. They could destroy the whole outpost if I interfere. Would they, though? This is human territory. They start killing civilians. Earth sends the fleet. They know that. Right now they are playing nice, asking permission to search. That means they cannot just do whatever they want. Another long pause. 6 hours. That is all I can give you. After that, you are on your own. Thank you, Amy. Do not thank me. Just get whoever she is off my planet. The call ended. Jake turned back to Lyra, who had been listening to everything. You have friends who would risk a lot for you, she said quietly. Friends help friends. Now show me what needs fixing on that communication array. They worked faster than Jake thought possible. Lyra pulled parts from the damaged sections of the ship and repurposed them. Jake used his entire stock of spare circuits and power cells. The array slowly came back online, piece by piece. 3 hours passed. Jake's computer beeped with updates from the outpost. Zilthera soldiers were going building to building, searching everywhere. Amy was slowing them down with regulations and paperwork, insisting they follow human law. It was working, but not forever. 4 hours. The soldiers were getting frustrated. Commander Krathvel contacted Danny directly and demanded faster cooperation. Amy reported that they were running out of time. 5 hours. The communication array was 90% complete. Just a few more connections, and it would be ready. Then Jake's door alarm went off. Someone was outside. He checked the security camera. 6 Zilthera soldiers stood at his gate, weapons ready. They had not asked permission. They were just going to search. They are here, Jake said. We need to move now. The array is not ready. 5 more minutes. We do not have 5 minutes. The soldiers started cutting through the gate with laser torches. Jake ran to his office and grabbed the emergency kit he kept for situations like this. Inside was a pulse rifle, military grade, illegal for civilians to own. He had kept it from his service days. "I will hold them off," Jake said. "You finish the repairs." "Jake, no. They will kill you." "Maybe. But they definitely will kill you. Get that array working." He ran to the main door and sealed it from the inside. The soldiers finished cutting the gate and moved toward the workshop. Jake activated the building's defense shield, a basic energy barrier that would stop a few shots. Not much, but something. The lead soldier shouted something in the Zilthara language. Jake did not understand the words, but the meaning was clear. "Open the door or we force it open." Jake's computer beeped. Incoming call on the emergency channel. He answered without looking away from the soldiers. A face appeared on the screen. Not Danny or Amy. This was a Zilthara male, older, with elaborate markings on his face and neck. He wore a uniform covered in medals and symbols of rank. "Human mechanic," the face said. "My name is Vexthar. I am the rightful king of the Zilthara people. The criminal you are hiding murdered my father and tried to steal the throne." "She said you staged a coup," Jake replied. Vexthar laughed. It was not a pleasant sound. She would say that. She is very good at lying, very good at making people feel sorry for her. But the truth is simple. She is a traitor and a killer. Give her to me. "And if I do not? Then I destroy your outpost. All of it. Your friends, your neighbors, everyone. All dead because you chose to protect a criminal." Jake looked at the screen, at this alien who claimed to be king. He thought about Danny and Amy and the 300 people living on Meridian's edge. He thought about Lyra working desperately to finish the repairs. "You will not destroy this outpost," Jake said calmly. "Because the moment you fire on human civilians, Earth declares war. Your ships might win here, but how many more ships does Earth have? How long before your whole empire is fighting a war it cannot win?" Vexthar's face darkened. "You think you are clever, human, but I do not need to destroy the outpost. I only need to destroy your workshop. One building, an unfortunate accident during a legal arrest. Earth would complain but do nothing." He was right, and Jake knew it. One building was not worth starting an interstellar war. "You have 1 hour to decide," Vexthar said. "Give me Lyra Zeth, or I turn your workshop into dust." The screen went black. Jake looked at the soldiers outside. They had stopped advancing and were waiting for orders, waiting for the hour to pass. Behind him, Lyra's voice was barely a whisper. "The communication array is fixed. The ship is ready." Jake turned to her. She stood in the doorway to the repair bay, her skin glowing bright blue with barely controlled emotion. "You should take their offer," she said. "Save your outpost. I am not worth all these lives." Jake picked up his rifle and checked the charge. Full power. Maybe enough for what he needed to do. "Yeah," he said. "You probably are not. But that is not the point anymore." Jake stood at the workshop door with his rifle while Lyra powered up the ship systems. The Zilthara soldiers outside had not moved. They were waiting for the hour deadline, confident that Jake would surrender or they would simply blast their way in. 50 minutes left. Jake called Amy on his personal communicator, the secure channel they used to use in the military. "Amy, I need one more favor. A big one." "Jake, I have done all I can. Those warships are targeting your workshop. When the hour is up, they will fire." "I know. That is why I need you to create a distraction. Something loud." "What kind of distraction?" "Remember the training exercises we used to run? The ones where we tested the emergency response systems?" There was a long pause. "You want me to trigger a false alarm?" "Not false. Real. Test all the systems at once. Alarms, defense protocols, evacuation procedures. Make it big enough that everyone has to pay attention. That will cause panic. People will think we are under attack. We are under attack. Just not the way they think." Amy sighed. "When do you need this?" 45 minutes. Right when the deadline hits, you are going to try to escape during the chaos. That is the plan. It is a terrible plan, Jake. It is the only plan. Will you do it? Another pause. Yeah, but you owe me big time. Like, rest of your life big time. If I survive, I will buy you a drink every day for a year. Make it 2 drinks, and we have a deal. The call ended. Jake checked his rifle again and walked back to the repair bay. Lyra was in the pilot's seat running final system checks. The engines hummed softly, ready to go. "The ship is ready," she said without looking at him. "All systems are working. I can leave whenever you want." Good. In 40 minutes, we both leave. Now Lyra did look at him. "Both? Jake, you cannot come with me. This is my fight, not yours." "Actually, you need a pilot. You said yourself you have been running for weeks. You must be exhausted. How good will your reaction time be when those warships start shooting?" "I can manage." "Maybe. Or maybe you crash and die and all this was for nothing." Jake sat in the co-pilot seat. "I know ships, Lyra. I know combat flying. You need me. And what about your life here? Your workshop? Your home?" Jake looked around the repair bay at the tools and equipment he had collected over 5 years. This place had been his refuge, his escape from the war. But looking at it now, he realized he had just been hiding. "I left one war to find peace," Jake said. "But peace where you ignore people who need help is not really peace. It is just cowardice with better furniture." Lyra's skin pulsed with emotion, the blue patterns swirling in complex ways. "You are a strange human, Jake Morrison. A good strange." "I will take that as a compliment." They spent the remaining time preparing. Jake grabbed emergency supplies from his workshop: water, food, medical kit, extra power cells for the rifle. Lyra sealed the ship's external hatches and armed the defensive systems. The ship had weapons, but they were damaged. Maybe enough for one good fight, maybe not. 30 minutes left. The soldiers outside started moving, repositioning for the final assault. They knew the deadline was close. 20 minutes. Jake's computer showed the warships powering up their main weapons. They were really going to do it. They were really going to destroy his workshop. 10 minutes. Jake climbed into the co-pilot seat and strapped in. Lyra's hands moved across the control panel, bringing up navigation displays and power distribution screens. Her movements were quick and precise, despite her exhaustion. 5 minutes. Jake opened a channel to Amy. "We are ready here. Start the show whenever you are ready." "Copy that. Good luck, Jake. Try not to die." "I will do my best." 3 minutes. Jake watched the chronometer count down. His hands were steady on the controls, but his heart was racing. This was it. Either they escaped or they died trying. 1 minute. The soldiers outside raised their weapons. Overhead, the warships adjusted their targeting. Jake could see the energy building in their main cannons on his sensors. 30 seconds. Lyra looked at him. "Whatever happens, thank you." "Thank me when we are safe." 10 seconds. Jake's finger hovered over the engine throttle. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Every alarm in the outpost went off at once. Emergency sirens wailed. Defense turrets activated and started tracking random targets. Evacuation alerts blared from speakers. Lights flashed red across every building. It was complete chaos. The Zilthera soldiers turned in confusion. The warships paused their targeting, unsure if this was an attack or a malfunction. Jake slammed the throttle forward. The ship's engines roared to life, going from standby to full power in 2 seconds. The ship shot forward, smashing through the workshop's roof like it was paper. Alarms screamed inside the ship. Jake ignored them. He pulled the stick hard, sending the ship into a steep climb. Behind them, the workshop exploded as the soldiers opened fire too late. "They are locking weapons," Lyra shouted over the noise. Jake saw the warning lights. 3 warships, 12 weapon systems, all targeting their tiny ship. He activated the countermeasures, releasing clouds of metallic chaff that confused the targeting computers for a few precious seconds. "Amy, we are clear of the outpost," Jake said into the communicator. "You can shut down the alarms." "Copy that. Now get out of here before they blow you up." The ship climbed higher, engines burning at maximum. The atmospheric flight was rough and violent. Jake's teeth rattled in his skull as they hit turbulence. Lyra was working the navigation computer, plotting the hyperspace jump they would need to escape. A proximity alarm shrieked. Missiles, 6 of them, launched from the nearest warship. "Hold on," Jake said. He cut the engines completely and let the ship drop like a stone. The missiles overshot them, confused by the sudden direction change. Then Jake fired the engines again, sending them back up at a different angle. 2 missiles recalculated and came back around. Jake could not dodge them both. He armed the ship's damaged weapon system and fired everything. The weapons sputtered and sparked, barely working, but they managed to destroy 1 missile. The second missile was 5 seconds from impact. "Jump coordinates are ready," Lyra said, her voice tight with fear. "We are still in atmosphere. We cannot jump from here. We will not make it to orbit. We have to try." The missile was 3 seconds away. Jake made a decision. He fired the engines at absolute maximum, more power than the ship was designed to handle. The ship shot upward like a bullet, accelerating so fast that Jake's vision went gray. 2 seconds. The edges of space appeared around them. Stars became visible through the thinning air. 1 second. Lyra activated the hyperspace drive without waiting for confirmation. The missile detonated just as the ship jumped. The explosion caught the edge of their hyperspace bubble, sending them spinning wildly through the dimensional barrier. Warning lights covered every panel. The ship screamed with stress as forces it was never meant to experience tore at the hull. Then they were through. The ship dropped back into normal space, tumbling and broken but intact. Jake fought with the controls and finally stabilized their flight. They were drifting in empty space, halfway between star systems, safely away from Meridian's edge. Silence filled the ship. The engines ticked as they cooled. Warning alarms had burned out from overuse. Jake's hands were shaking as he unbuckled his harness. "Are you okay?" he asked Lyra. She nodded slowly. "That was the worst hyperspace jump in history. But we are alive." Jake laughed, slightly hysterical. "Yeah, we are alive." Lyra brought up a star map. "We are 17 light years from the nearest human settlement. With the damage to the ship, it will take us 3 days to reach safe space." 3 days. We can do 3 days. If the ship holds together. It will hold. Jake looked at the damage reports. It was bad, but fixable. "I am a mechanic, remember? I keep things working." Lyra smiled, the first real smile he had seen from her. "I remember. Come on, we should check the hull for damage." They left the cockpit and began assessing what the explosion had done to the ship. It was going to be a long 3 days. But they were together, they were free, and that was enough. The first day in deep space was spent repairing critical systems. Jake welded hull breaches while Lyra rerouted power from damaged sections. The ship limped along at half speed, but it was moving in the right direction, away from Vexthar and toward Earth. On the second day, Jake finally asked the question that had been bothering him. "What really happened, Lyra?" The whole truth this time. They were in the engine room, fixing a coolant leak. Lyra was quiet for a long time, her hands working automatically on the repairs. "I told you my cousin staged a coup," she said finally. "That was true. What I did not tell you was who I really am." She set down her tools and looked at him. "I am not just important to my people. I am their queen. Or I was." Jake stopped working. "Queen." "Yes. My father ruled for 300 years. When he died, I was supposed to take the throne, but Vexthar is his brother's son. He thought he deserved to rule instead. Many in the military agreed with him. They wanted a warrior king, not a queen who talked about peace and exploration. So he killed you, or tried to. He killed everyone loyal to me first. My advisors, my friends, the royal guard. Then he came for me. I only survived because one guard gave her life to help me escape. I have been running ever since, trying to reach someone who could help me prove what Vexithar did. Jake thought about the 3 warships, the soldiers, the hour deadline. All of that just to kill one person. Why does he want you dead so badly? You are already gone. He already has the throne. Because I am alive. His rule is not legitimate. In Zilthara law, the rightful heir must be dead before someone else can truly claim the crown. As long as I live, I am a threat to his power. And if you make it to Earth, what happens then? Lyra smiled sadly. Earth has connections to the Galactic Council. If I can present my case, prove what Vexthar did, the Council might intervene. They might restore me to power, or at least prevent Vexthar from committing more crimes. That is a lot of ifs and maybes. It is all I have. They finished the repairs and moved to the ship's small living area. Jake made food from the emergency rations while Lyra checked their position. They were making good progress. Another day, and they would reach human patrol routes. That night, Jake had trouble sleeping. He kept thinking about everything that had happened. His workshop was gone. His quiet life was gone. He had made an enemy of an alien empire, all for someone he barely knew, but looking back, he could not say he regretted it. It had been the right thing to do. On the 3rd day, proximity alarms woke them both. Jake rushed to the cockpit and checked the sensors. 3 ships had just dropped out of hyperspace behind them. Zilthara warships, the same 3 that had attacked Meridian's edge. How did they find us? Jake demanded. Lyra was already running diagnostics. I do not know. We jumped blind. They should not have been able to track us. Well, they did. They are closing fast. The ships were bigger and faster. In their damaged ship, Jake and Lyra could not outrun them. In 10 minutes, they would be in weapons range. We need to fight, Jake said. With what? Our weapons are barely functional. Then we make them work. Come on. They ran to the weapons control room. Jake opened the panels and stared at the mess of damaged circuits and burned-out power relays. It was worse than he thought. Maybe enough for 1 or 2 shots if they were lucky. I have an idea, Lyra said, but you will not like it. Try me. Zilthara ships have a weakness. The power cores use organic crystals that need to be grown, not manufactured. They are very efficient, but also very fragile. If we can hit the right spot with enough force, we can overload the entire power grid. Okay, where is this weak spot? Deep inside the ship, behind multiple layers of armor. We would need a missile to reach it, and all our missiles are gone. Jake understood what she was suggesting. You want to ram them. Not all of them. Just one. If we destroy one ship, the others might hesitate. Give us time to jump away. It was insane. It was also their only chance. All right, Jake said. But I am flying. You work the jump coordinates. The second we hit, you get us out of here. They strapped into their seats. Jake brought the ship around to face the warships. On the view screen, he could see Vexithar's face appearing again, broadcasting to their ship. Lyra Zeth, you cannot run forever. Surrender now, and I promise your death will be quick. Lyra activated her microphone. Vexithar, you are a traitor and a coward. You could not beat me in fair challenge, so you murdered everyone I loved while I slept. That is not a king. That is a criminal. Vexthar's face twisted with rage. Then die, cousin. Die knowing that history will remember you as the weak queen who ran away. The communication cut. The warships opened fire. Jake dove the ship between the energy blasts, aiming directly at the lead warship. It was massive, 100 times their size. But he had learned to fight big ships in the military. The trick was to get close, too close for their big guns to track. Laser fire streaked past them. One shot clipped their shield, and the whole ship shook. But Jake kept going, straight at the warship's main hull. 30 seconds to impact, Lyra called out. Jump coordinates ready. The warship realized what they were doing too late. It tried to turn away, but it was too slow. Jake aimed for the power core location Lyra had described, right in the center of the hull. 20 seconds. Shields are failing. More laser fire. The cockpit filled with smoke from burning circuits. But the warship was right in front of them now, growing larger every second. 10 seconds. Impact warning. Jake kept his hands steady on the controls. This was it. Either they survived or they did not. But at least they tried. 5 seconds. The warship filled the entire view screen. Jake could see individual hull plates and weapon ports. He could see Zilthara crew members inside through the windows, their faces shocked. Now! Jake shouted. He pushed the throttle to maximum one last time. The ship shot forward and slammed into the warship's core. The impact was devastating. Jake felt like every bone in his body broke at once. The view screen shattered. Alarms screamed. But Lyra had been ready. Her hands moved across the navigation controls, activating the hyperspace drive at the exact moment of impact. Reality tore open around them, swallowing both ships in the jump. The warship's power core overloaded, exactly as Lyra predicted. Energy cascaded through its systems in a destructive chain reaction. The ship began to explode from the inside, and then they were in hyperspace, separated from the dying warship, tumbling through the dimensional void. The other two warships were left behind, unable to follow without jump coordinates. They dropped back into normal space near a human patrol route. Warning lights covered every surface. The ship was dying. Half the systems were offline, and the other half were failing fast. But through the cockpit window, Jake could see a beautiful blue and white planet. Earth. They had made it. "We need to signal for help," Jake said, his voice weak. He tasted blood. Lyra was already working on it. Her hands moved slower now, and Jake saw that she was injured too. Blue blood ran down her arm from a deep cut. A human patrol ship appeared on the sensors, responding to their distress call. It was a military vessel, heavily armed. They approached cautiously, unsure what to make of the damaged alien ship. Jake opened a communication channel. "This is Jake Morrison, former military mechanic, service number 2734889 Alpha. I am requesting emergency assistance and political asylum for my passenger." There was a pause. Then a familiar voice responded, not just any voice. Admiral Katie Burke, commander of Earth's border defense. Jake knew her from his service days. "Jake Morrison? We thought you retired. What are you doing in a shot-up alien ship?" "Long story, Admiral. Very long story. But the person with me is a Zilthara queen being hunted by a military coup. She needs to speak with the Galactic Council." Another pause. "You are bringing us a civil war, Jake." "No, Admiral. I am bringing you an ally. One who will remember that humans helped her when no one else would." The patrol ship moved closer and began sending medical drones to help them. Jake finally let himself relax. They had made it. Against all odds, they had made it. Lyra touched his hand. Her skin was still glowing faintly, even through her exhaustion and pain. "You saved my life, Jake Morrison. My people will not forget this. When I reclaim my throne, humanity will have an ally forever." Jake smiled. "Just doing my job, Your Majesty. Fixing broken things. That is what mechanics do." He looked out at Earth, at the planet he had left to find peace. He had found something better, purpose, and sometimes that was worth more than peace. 3 months later, Jake stood in a repair bay on Earth's largest space station. He had a new workshop now, bigger than his old one. The Zilthara government in exile had paid for it as a thank you. Lyra was in meetings with the Galactic Council, building support for her return. Amy had messaged him yesterday. She said Meridian's Edge was rebuilding. Danny was asking when Jake would visit. The whole outpost considered him a hero now, which made him uncomfortable. He was just a mechanic who did the right thing. His communicator beeped. Message from Lyra. The council had voted. They recognized her as the legitimate queen and were sending forces to help retake her throne. It was happening. Jake looked at his new workshop, at the tools and equipment waiting for him. Then he looked at the message from Lyra inviting him to the ceremony when she reclaimed her throne. He smiled and sent back a reply. Just 3 words. I will be there.